Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the KeithAndrewNetwork. I am your host, Keith Andrew. Along here is the beautiful and talented Dynell Masseia, and I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, for people who want to know what uncensored is, uncensored's my way of showing people that even with a learning disability, I can still overcome controversy and reach my goals in life. At the same time, I'm able to turn myself into a perfect example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities or disabilities. But you should never give up, and you should prove to people you can still mount to something no matter what. Now, with that being said, half hour, 45 minutes every time. Curse if you want to. You call me an asshole for messing up your name. But, it's like I said, half hour, 45 minutes of your time. Talk about anything you want, and you're supporting a good cause, and you're making a new friend out of it. So, starting off, I'm going to ask you the easy questions. Then
Okay.
I'm going to ask you some hard-hitting ones. And towards the end of the show, I will pass it over to you, and you can ask me anything you want, but you in the driver's seat.
Okay.
So, starting off, what can you tell us about your life growing up?
Growing up, I was born in California, and Southern California, Los Angeles, outskirts of Los Angeles area. And from the time I was 5 years old until I was 11, I went back and forth between California and Hawaii. And I moved to Hawaii when I was 11 and finished growing up in Hawaii. So for me, diversity was, to say the least, always in my life. My parents are different nationalities. So my mom is actually from the island, or not the islands. My mom is from South America. She's from Brazil. And my father is Caucasian American. And I had tons of brothers and sisters from my dad's first marriage, all as well Caucasian. So growing up in California, I was different from everybody else. I was different from everybody else in school until probably fifth grade, when two brothers came to the private school that I went to who were African American. So it was the first time from pre-K to sixth grade that I had anyone else that was darker skinned like I was. So being different in a different kind of way, I grew up as knowing that was just the norm for me. When I moved to Hawaii and the back and forth between Hawaii, I had my eyes broadened and opened in the fact that that I could blend in with other people different than I did at home in California, which was part of my decision to go ahead and finish moving there. My parents split when I was young, so my mom moved to Hawaii and I moved with her. And then I lived a life where I wasn't the minority, I was the majority. So I've seen both sides of the coin. And I ended up always being kind of the middleman to everyone who was different from each other, to explain that it has nothing to do with what they look like or where they come from, but everything to do with their personality, who they are as a person, their character, and focusing more on the inside of a person as opposed to the outside and what they look like. So that pretty much sums up my growing up years.
Yeah, that's really cool. So where are you based right now?
Now I live in Orlando, Florida. And my husband and I moved here 19 years ago from Hawaii with the intention of only staying for 2 years. And we've now been here 19 years because the cost of living in Hawaii is very high. And we intended to come and save up money and move back because it was so inexpensive to live here. But it became very easy to stay here and buy a house and have more than one car and live a life, different things that you don't realize you can have access to until you're there. So we now live in Orlando, Florida, and we've raised our kids here. However, we've raised them still very Polynesian. So I married a Polynesian man. My husband's from the South Pacific Islands of Samoa. And so we've raised our children still yet with the same values and family ideals and things like that of the Polynesian culture, even though we live in Florida.
All right, so, well, for a perfect example, you're not the type of mom who would be like, oh, here's an iPhone, here's an iPad, go crazy. You raise them, how we were raised, go outside, I don't know if you had video games growing up.
I I was never into them. So
Right.
they started during my generation. That's when, the whole thing, and that was still classified as nerds were the only ones who did video games. So
Oh,
I
thanks.
no offense given, no offense meant. But that was, socialistically, that's just the way it was back then. So I was around them. I played simple things, Tetris and Pac-Man, and the little, nothing major. I never got deep into it. However, my older son, very much a gamer, so much so that he even contemplated going to college for there's a term for it, and I can't think of it right now, for game design. So he even contemplated doing game design because he gets games and beats them and then gets bored. So he goes back to GameStop, the famous GameStop. Sorry, shameless plug. To GameStop and switch those out to get new ones, and keeps doing it over and over and changes his game systems. He's been the gamer in the family. So he was the one who continued to do that. And I told him, as long as your grades are good, as long as you go outside and don't become a hermit, as long as you have a social life and you engage in other things, then fine. And if you can make a career of it, more power to you, because a lot of people have become very wealthy with the whole gaming thing. So I don't diss it or dismiss it by any means. But I was not still yet, as you asked. No, I wasn't. Here's the latest and greatest. It was work for it, earn it, in some way, shape, or form. There had to be a balance.
No, absolutely. I'm the same way. If I had a daughter or son, I'd be like, this is what I had growing up. Here's a toy. Here's a book. Spend time with your family. Go outside. Now, today's generation's basically spoiled because you're like, oh, Johnny, here's an iPhone.
Yeah.
And here's an iPad. That's like, what?
At 6 months old. Let's just be real. At 6 months old, they do that.
I work in retail. I won't tell you the store.
Oh.
I ring up a lot of people, and their kids are hypnotized with iPhones and iPads, and right, they're 2 and 3. And I say to the customers, I didn't have that growing up. And you're gonna start them down a road you're going to regret.
I know. It's true. It's so true. My youngest still doesn't own a phone. He's 12. And he's not going to, because he has to be responsible to get one. So he doesn't have one yet. He hasn't quite reached that point of responsibility.
No, absolutely. And one thing on the subject, then we can go to something else, is like, when you're 12, when you're 6 or whatever, who are you going to call? Why do you even need that?
Precisely. Exactly. That's my point exactly. You don't need to call anybody. I pick you up from school. I drop you off. There's no reason to call me because I'm always going to be there. So what do you need a phone for? No.
I was interviewed by Mark Melanie, cheap plug, by Mark Melanie, host of the Reading Circle. And we did an interview, and we were talking about technology and how it's giving it to young people and all this BS that's kind of happening. And it's like, first off, you let your 5-year-old son go to the park. Is he going to call you up, hey, mommy, I'm on the monkey bars, and I'm just like calling you. And I'm like, well, first off, mommy should be there with you.
Exactly.
And you're 5 years old. You don't need a phone. I don't know. The whole thing's ridiculous.
I agree.
Now, the next question, this next subject I was going to ask you is, growing up, did you ever do any sports? And were you a party animal or study nerd in college?
Okay. So, growing up, when I was small, I started off in performance. So I did gymnastics, I did ballet, I did tap, I did modern dance, and that kind of stuck with me for most of my years. I played soccer for a little while, played basketball for a little while. Didn't really like that kind of activity, so I kind of stayed away from those type of sports and stuck with the performing arts type of thing. When I got into high school, I would say my end of my sophomore year, I became a party animal. I was actually, from the time I was small until that point, I was a straight A student, always got good grades, always did well in school, very intelligent. My parents encouraged me. My father was a teacher, so I had that foundation of education being so vital and important. But once I hit my teen years, I hit some bumpy roads and hit some identity challenges, I would say, in regards to just life in general, and things I didn't know came out and now I knew them. And unfortunately, instead of, I don't know, managing them wisely, I decided to defy all odds and act like I was invincible. So I became a party animal. Hence why I actually didn't go to college, because I messed myself up so wonderfully during my last 2 years of high school that was just not an option. So yes, it can go downhill that quickly, people. It can go downhill real fast. Don't do that.
All right, well, I do have a question. Actually, I'm going to ask you about the sports.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any regrets? And are you happy with your education, or do you have any regrets of you partied too much, but you could have balanced it out more?
I would definitely say I wish I would have balanced it more. I understand, and I don't know that I'll necessarily say I have a regret about it. It's very much of my foundation of who I am, and I really, during those 2 years of my life, I really soul searched and really found myself. That I will never regret. However, there's always a better way, which is what I've tried to teach my kids is, yeah, you can screw up. Sure. By all means. I mean, knock yourself out, have a good time with it. However, you need to do that in moderation, because eventually you're going to have to get your crap together and you're going to have to figure out life. And you can't stay in that if you want to go to something else, which is better. So if you have dreams and ambitions and ideas, don't waste a lot of time screwing up because, oh, YOLO. I do not like that term. Never have, never will. YOLO, you only live once. That's right. You do. So do the best that you can, not YOLO, you only live once. Let's just throw it all away. I dabbled in it enough to know 2 years was way too much, in my opinion, to know that those 2 years of my life could have set me 5 years ahead of what I had to end up having to do anyways. All it did was delay me and create all this mess I had to clean up before I could get to the point that I could now do what I really want to do.
No, absolutely. I'm not from myself in that same category. And a lot of people say I'm morbid. Maybe I am morbid. But
I don't think so.
I didn't say what I'm going to say yet, but after I say it, you're like, oh, maybe you're morbid. I was thinking about if given the opportunity, I'm going to ask you first, would you, trying to find the words for it, given the opportunity to do your life over, knowing everything you know now, would you? Or you say, like, well, you know what, knowing everything I know now and try to rush through it. Say, like, God forbid, I died, right? Mm-hmm. And I did my life over, and now I know 2013 I would do my talk show, and now it's about 93.
Mm-hmm.
Would you make those years fly by, or would you appreciate it more and then have more of a story to tell?
I would definitely I would definitely take everything that I know now back then and help myself to achieve more at an earlier time. The only thing that I would say, and I guess you could call it a regret, is the time wasted. I wasted time. Wasted time on worrying about things that didn't need to be worried about. Wasted time on giving up on things that I should have put more effort into. Wasting time would be my regret. If I had to have a regret, it would be that. And that's what I would tell myself. This will be over faster than you even think. I know it seems bad right now, but very soon you'll get past this and you can still move forward. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with just in everyday life all the time, because the mountain can seem so huge And really it's not. It's just a little molehill. You just got to get over the little hump and then you'll be fine. Honestly, because once you do get over that hump, you're like, oh my goodness, why did I waste all of my time? What was I so upset about? That really wasn't that bad. And we take, I think as humans, we can so easily take struggle or challenge or disappointment or all these things that are negative and make them our whole world, when really it's a moment in time that if you just step back for a second and look at it and go, hold on, okay, what's the worst that can happen? Can I handle it? Okay, then let's just get through this instead of wasting time running around, going everywhere that you can to get away from it, because you still got to face it even when you try to run.
No, absolutely. Well, actually, I can ask this question later on. But growing up, you mentioned you were a gymnast. Did you ever, like I said, I'm out of focus. Make a long story brief. Is about, I got up to 300 interviews. And during that time, a lot of people said, my agent or my publicist said it was degrading and the questions you're asking were kind of retarded. Or people don't like the R word, redundant. That it was pointless, the video quality was terrible. Can you take it down? Or you take it down or I'm going to sue you. And they sort of were making all these open threats. So I got up to 300. So I said, screw it. I know I'm going off topic, but this is something that's been bothering me. I took all 300 interviews, took them down. Out of all of them, I re-uploaded only the ones I had permission. So thanks to you, we're up back to 209. I'm so used to saying, hey, this is 309. I'm like, that's 209. I'm doing it over. So the reason I'm hesitating and I'm stuttering more is because I did all this before. It was really not fair because I did all this before. I got up to 300. I bought myself a wrestling belt I can show you after. And it's this whole big thing of doing 300 and now I'm going backwards. So it's kind of like, you're moving forward, but at the same time you're going backwards. Now I'm going to turn that direction to you. With everything you accomplished, do you feel like, well, I went on 100 different appearances, but does it going forward, does it feel like you're moving backwards, or do you think, it was kind of like the same scenario?
I would say that's life.
Right.
That's life. And I say that because you do make strides forward and you meet opposition, right? And whether it comes in the form of what you experienced, which is people threatening you and telling you to get down and I don't like it and all this kind of stuff. What that did for you, though, is it boosted your confidence to know that this is something that's passionate to you and it meant enough to you to do it again. And that's where, okay, so that set you back a few steps. But because of your response to it, because you met it with, okay, you know what? I'm going to do it again. Fine. That's cool. I can start all over. And you're back up to 209. That's a success. That's a huge success. So, yeah, we do that. That's just life. We go back and forth and back and forth. But with every opposition, when you meet it with confidence and authority and you push forward and push through it, you are that much better of a person. You're that much more accomplished. You're that much more secure. You're that much more educated in how to go about this in a way that you can't put yourself in a position that you were in before. And that is what life is about. I'm an actress. I've been doing it for 13 years professionally. And what people don't realize, people will see an actor come out on a movie and all of a sudden it's a revelation. Who's this new person that we've never seen before? Overnight success. Look at their resume. They've been doing it for 10 to 15 years before you see them. They've been working hard. They've been slaving. Most of what an actor does is audition and get no. Our dominant, we get 10% yeses and 90% nos. I go on 100 auditions. Out of 100 auditions, I will book maybe 10. I hear no more than I hear yes, but my passion is for the yes. And that's what people have to grab onto. If you're passionate about something, it's said, if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. If you love and you're passionate about what you're doing and what you're putting out there and what you're experiencing, just like what you're doing, it doesn't matter all the naysayers. It doesn't matter what those people said because they didn't knock you down. So you're a success. You step back a couple times, but now you're stepping forward beyond where you were because you're that much more prepared, educated, and well-rounded. It doesn't matter who comes up and says no now.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we mentioned being an actress. I think that's going to be my next subject. By going back to the college years, did you ever think about being a pro gymnast? And did you ever get the chance to do one of those human pyramids? Or are you not a human pyramid girl?
I believe I did a human pyramid a few different times, which was a lot of fun, but I never went to the top because I was too afraid to fall down on the people below me. But I did not pursue it past, I think past my early teens. Then I just dedicated myself to dance. So I joined a performing arts group. I got to travel with them, and do street performances and stuff like that, theater performances, auditorium performances, and that type of thing. That was a lot of fun. And then that branched into, because I grew up in Hawaii, like I said, I moved there when I was 11. So because I grew up there and I was accepted there, and I already was a performer and a dancer, I became a Polynesian dancer. So I was a professional Polynesian dancer for a few years before I started having babies. But so dance became where my focus was. And then that launched me into, when we moved to Florida, I finally had the opportunity to do the acting thing, which I didn't have in Hawaii.
All right, now going to my next subject. Well, by the way, I love pyramids. I know I'm a loser.
Very cool.
Now going to the next subject, who influenced you to become a dancer? And when you moved to Hawaii, how did the whole acting thing, did the dancing lead into the acting?
Right. When I was small in California, I did some performing, like I said, being a gymnast and a ballet dancer and all that stuff. And even my father was a singer, highly trained opera singer. Never used it, but he was highly trained. So I grew up around music and all that kind of stuff. So performing, period. I can remember I must have been 3, maybe 4 years old, and singing in front of my parents' adult couples group that we had gone on some trip, family trip or whatever with our church or something like that. And I had no fear whatsoever. Give me the microphone. Let me sing to you all. And I just absolutely love performing. So from the time I was small, I always wanted to be on TV. And when I moved to Hawaii, the options to do that were not available. So I pursued through dance and performance in that manner. So I would say the desire started little. However, the dancing fueled me and led me into the journey where I was able to begin acting once I had access to it here in Florida.
Now, were you ever an extra in any TV shows, any movies, any voiceovers?
I've been an extra lots of times. That's kind of sometimes the bread and butter of an actor. If you don't get the principal job and get hired to do the main part, then okay, fine, hire me for an extra just so that I can keep working and pay my bills. So I call extra work kind of the bread and butter. I've been an extra on so many projects I couldn't list them to you, in all honesty. Let me think. Dolphin Tale, Recount. Let me think.
What about like Hawaii Five-0, Blue Bloods, Grimm, any Fox News shows, NBC shows?
Well, Hawaii Five-0 didn't start filming until I've been here in Florida, so that wasn't available. However, I have been, I was cast in Bloodline, which is the Netflix series. They're going to be releasing their second season on May 27th.
Oh,
so nice. I'm excited about that.
Well, do you have a big part in it, or were you just an extra?
No, I had a principal speaking part in that one.
Could you talk about it, or?
Actually, I can. It's still on. I know. Unfortunately, that's just the way it goes. Once it gets released, I can talk about it all you want. But no, we do have to sign non-disclosure agreements in regards to certain things. But I can say that I have been. I was cast. I had a principal role. I did speak, and it was the most amazing experience ever.
Hey, if you can put a good word in with Netflix for me, I appreciate it.
I wish I could. If I had connections to Netflix, I'd be like, put me in everything.
I came up with the original idea. It's like, now everything's going to Netflix and Hulu. And I was like, well, I do want to be on Fox News, Channel 4, actually, Channel 4, NBC, CBS. And it's like, well, if maybe I should start lower. What about Netflix? So I was like, wouldn't it be cool to say that my show got picked up by Netflix?
It would be very cool. But there's a lot of networks out there that you can submit your stuff to. You just got to keep searching. Yes, when he said, why don't you try lower? That's because there's so many diverse networks that are out there that are looking for content.
Hey, if you're willing to help me out, I will. You help me, I help you.
I could try to figure out some of those networks, but it sounds like you know a lot already. I would say with what you already know, it's just a matter of reaching out to the ones that are not the top 5 and going for the other ones. There's all kinds of independent networks. If you were to just probably Google, because unfortunately that's not my area of expertise, right. So I can't fluff you on that. But if you were to Google any smaller networks that are out there, there's some that are just focused on reality TV. There's some that are focused just on bloggers. There's some that are, if you start looking for those and making the connections with them, that's how you grow your business. Because I had to start as an extra in the background and work my way to where I am. And it doesn't, like I said, it does not happen overnight. I really wish it does, but it doesn't.
Now, I'm going to pass it with the last 12 minutes left. Mm-hmm. I asked you all the hard-hitting things I want to ask you. Okay. Now I'm going to pass it to you. You can ask me anything you want, gloves off. And the theme of the show, and it's called Uncensored. And what Uncensored, it's a whole long story about that. But I can, if you want, I can tell you about it. But basically, the theme is uncensored freedom of speech, freedom of self-expression. Just wanted to throw it out there. But like I said, this is your time, and I want to hear what you have to ask me. Anything you want, gloves off.
So how old are you?
28.
28, okay. And do you mind explaining to me what is your learning disability?
You too, huh?
Why, does everybody always ask you that?
Yes.
Well, let me tell you first. The reason I'm asking is not because it's relevant in anything of value to who you are. I'm just curious as to what is it that you are overcoming in specifics.
Well, like I said, we're supporting a good cause and making a new friend out of it, so I'm not going to hide anything. What is my handicap? Should be titled my book. I'm pretty much like you, except for I almost said a woman. Hello.
No, not quite that, but we understand that difference.
I'm like you. It's just that I learn at a slower pace.
Okay.
And I was labeled all my life mentally challenged, mentally disturbed, mentally retarded. Retarded in general. People were saying you got to end up in a group home. You're going to be a burden for yourself and for your family. This is basically how my education was. I took all special ed classes, by the way.
Okay.
Keith, you here today? Here's a book or magazine. Or today, we're reading a newspaper. Here's a newspaper. Go sit in the corner. Don't bother me.
Okay.
I tried taking normal classes.
Gotcha.
But I failed them. I failed health.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'm going to ask you this, if you don't mind. I'm
Sure.
going to compare my 4 years to your 4 years.
Okay.
But you asked me first, so I'm going to throw myself out there.
Okay.
Freshman year, failed health, failed history. I failed history, science, biology, everything and everything. Only thing I did pass was gym. So
that's very common to a lot of people. So I don't think that's just because you had a disability.
the only reason I passed was in sophomore year I was working hard, but I made a deal with a bunch of teasers. Something I'm good at, besides bullshitting. The deal was I would do the work, I would participate, and show you that I'm doing the best I can. So the deal was if I do everything I was supposed to, I will pass as all 65s.
Okay.
So at the time that I wasn't looking at the big picture, I just wanted to get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
I was passing as all 65s. I joined audiovisual. This is now my sophomore, junior, senior year.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually am the one who came up with the morning show. And now, for people who want to know what the morning show is every room in school had a television.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to the guy, Mr. Blah, 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 wouldn't it be nice if we had a morning show? Yeah, we used to have that, but it never went anywhere. I said, okay, then let me do it. Okay, go for it. Unfortunately, I'm not the same person who I was 10 years ago, or 10, 11, 12, 13 years ago, counting back to my freshman year. Because 10 years ago, I was in my senior year. So,
right.
13 years. Anyway, without getting off topic, I came up with a show. I'm not the same person who I was, but there was a group of people who said, why don't we do a morning show? Because, now I'm more outgoing, I'm more of a smart ass, wise ass. But back then, I was like, I was in like my shell. I didn't talk to anyone, I didn't do anything, so there's a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
And my disability showed more. It's now, after working over at the North Face and interacting with people, I got the practice of putting the face on and hiding my disability. But basically, I created the morning show. There's a bunch of other people who took the idea and they did theirs. And so I said, you know what? You took my idea. We're going to have a rivalry. So I did my own radio show.
Nice.
It's the Keith and Tony show, the Keith and Andrew show, the Keith Extreme Power Hour. It's pretty sad I remember this.
No, it's not. Those are your stepping stones to get where you are today, so it's good to remember.
It's true. Just trying to make you laugh. The Extreme Power Hour, there's all these different things. Then it stopped, and I graduated. I was working at North Face, and good store, by the way, but I worked with asshole people. That's what happens when you hire high school kids.
Right.
But, I talked to this one guy. He said, well, you did a TV show. Why not take it one step beyond that? Mm-hmm. And I was cleaning up my basement. I was like, oh, this is it's like the size of my room. A good mid-sized basement. Why not put a table over here? He wanted to do some rap thing. It's like, okay, that's fine. You can have your own segment and whatever. And he left, and I got sick out of the stupidity and retail. It took me a year to recover. And that was 2008. Basically, I couldn't do anything. Every day I was throwing up. I was having panic attacks. It took me, I don't mean to bitch to you. I apologize.
No. Oh, gosh, no. It's your turn to share, so share.
I took me a year to recover.
Mm.
2009, I went to West Point. I am now certified to work anywhere in New York State as a custodian. I had that little certificate.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was getting disability money because I couldn't handle being in retail.
Right.
And he thinks I'm an ass kisser, but I use my brother for an inspiration. And it's like everyone in my family had a disability. And they're off doing whatever, or they reached out and they accomplished something. And I'm sitting here saying, why can't I do that? Why do I have to be a burden? Why do I have to have all this crap? And it gets to me. It's like, well, go ask blah, blah, blah. He has connections. So what about me? Yeah. What about you? You're a different case. You're a different scenario. You're this. You're that. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make you choke on those words. And I'm gonna turn my weakness because the longest time I was using my disability as a crutch.
Yep.
And that's going back to high school. I didn't care about passing. Just give me whatever, because I knew I wasn't going to college.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't going to amount to anything at that period.
That's what you believed, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
at that period of time. So all of this was irrelevant. So sitting around watching everyone reach their goals was like, you know what? If I have to die, I'm going to say I accomplished something. Or if it doesn't turn out, I don't care what anyone says. And I swear to God, I don't care. It says, well, one thing we remembered about Keith is he was an idiot. Well, that's kind of relevant. But I want to say the one thing I accomplished was my talk show. I did a lot of stupid things in my life. And but the one thing I'm very proud of, the one thing I can die happy knowing is that I met a new friend like you, number one. And I took the first step to say, you know what? I am mentally challenged, mentally disturbed, the R word, but I'm going to show you I can still accomplish something.
That's right.
And, I had a couple opportunities to get some airtime on a couple of radio shows. The interviews weren't that good because I was just starting out.
That's okay.
After 3 years, it took me 3 years to get 400 people right now, as in this time, as May, I'm going to say this, May 18th, took me 3 years to get 400 and something people to follow me on Twitter. Nice. And it took 3 years for my fan page to get over 221 people. So basically, when I first started, and I did this for all my interviews, here's my phone, my hand's the camera. So whatever the phone saw, the camera picked up. So my season 2 was the opposite. What the camera saw from the computer screen, that's what I saw. And a lot of people say, well, if you want us to take you seriously, you have to update your quality. All right. Well, season 1, I asked about gay rights, gun control, and everything. Everything under the sun. And I'm going to wrap up, then I'll pass it back to you.
Okay.
And because I know you probably like, I want to know what he was doing, but he's talking too much.
No, not at all. I asked you, so please talk. No problem.
That season 1 was gay rights, the gun control, where you stand on gay rights, where you stand on legalizing marijuana, Second Amendment, all that. And I was like, well, I don't want season 2 to be a replay of that. I want season 2 to be different. Okay, now it's more like this, an open format. I'm continuing from season 2. How did he become an actress? Did he ever do a human pyramid? Did he ever do this? Did he ever do that? And pass the show over to you, and you can ask me anything you want. And I might go back to the format of hard-hitting questions, but I'm showing you, I started from the Oh, sorry, I had it on a timer.
That's
I
okay.
had
That's
it.
okay.
I had it from the phone to the computer. Now
Mm-hmm.
Skype recording. There's a transition. People say, "Why didn't you do this from the beginning?" I cut off, and when I was re-uploading my interviews, I was actually thinking about redoing everything from scratch, but I really didn't want to start from the bottom again. I was like, I'm just gonna work my way up. You sign a permission form. That's what everyone does now, so they can't backtrack because that was
Right.
the problem. When I first did my interviews, I didn't have anyone sign anything,
Mm-hmm.
so that's why they were allowed and able to threaten me with some
Right.
BS.
Right.
Now that they're I say, here's my name, here's my show concept, normal
Mm-hmm.
conversation, do I have permission to interview you on blah blah blah. There you go. Well, nope, sorry, I have the paper right here. You said you read it, everything, paper right here. You can't do anything.
That's right.
But the last thing I want to say is about reason I didn't do Skype recorder in the beginning was because you wouldn't see any transitions. You
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have seen how I would change over the 3 years.
Exactly.
I was behind the camera because I I give you a perfect example of that. I promise I pass it over back to you and I will shut up on my part.
Don't worry about it, Keith. You're fine.
But when I first started, I did not want to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
I was shy about my performance, even though I do blink a lot. I have Tourette's. I try to hide it, but for whatever the reason is, when I watch myself being recorded, I blink a lot, so it kind of bothers me. But I didn't want to be seen,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm still living at home, so that was another thing. My family says no one wants to see you.
Welcome to the millennials. I mean, you and the other million millennials that live at home, including my children. So don't worry about it.
Right. No, they just I didn't want to be seen. I thought bad enough I have a fat neck. I try to hide it, but I didn't just want to be seen. And I was thinking, if I really want this to go somewhere, then I really need to put myself out there. I really need to do something to get out of my comfort zone and say, you know what? I'm not pleasing my family. I'm not pleasing certain people. This means a lot to me, like I told you. If I really want this to turn into something,
Mm-hmm.
I would have to get off my ass and do something because all this came about on a birthday list. I said, and I'm trying. There's this long story about it. When I turned 21, people said it's the most special birthday you can have in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I have my family, I have my health. I would like to have a couple famous friends. Unfortunately, I was being told off. I was being told to piss off, and I was uncensored. I was told to go fuck myself. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm going about it the wrong way. Okay, look at it from their point of view. Use you for an example. You're famous. I'm some fan. I'm asking you for your friendship. Kind of shady, but maybe he's real. It's like, okay, let's tweak that idea. Let's still use the concept of a birthday list, but use it to more of your advantage. Well, I do have a learning disability, so why not use that as more of a platform?
Mm-hmm.
Birthday list is nice and everything, but a disability has more of a platform, more stable. So I went from my birthday list to I'm going to show you with a disability I can still amount to something, and here I am. 4 years, and overall 4, about 3.5 I've been doing this. So I went from behind the camera to now being in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like someone to walk up to me. It's like, hey, you're the Keith Andrew guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care what you say. It's like, I really like your work, or you should get more practice, or your show really sucks, but I think it's in the right step. Okay, thank you for your honesty.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like, it's a learning experience. Now, with that being
Everything.
yep.
Everything in life is a learning experience. That's why I said what I said. In regards to everything that I've been through, the only thing I would change is how long it took me to get to where I am by the things I let limit me. That's the thing. If we stop limiting ourselves by, for instance, your disability is not a limitation, it's a platform. You've honed in on that, and now look at where you're going. Look at what you've done. Just like I said, those naysayers stopped you, didn't matter, because now you've redone it right, you've redone it better, and you're only going to keep building and improving on what you're already doing. And one day you'll look back and be like, man, I have arrived at what I wanted to get to. But it's one step at a time. You can't get to the top of the ladder from the bottom and just jump. It doesn't happen that way. You have to take every single rung and whatever comes with that. And sometimes you get tired. Sometimes you get weary. Sometimes you get frustrated, mad, pissed off. People get mad at you and all of that, but you still keep climbing.
No, absolutely. And, I promote myself. I got most of my interviews from LinkedIn, from Facebook, from Twitter. No one wants to help me. It's like, you want it, do it yourself. And I always thought, hey, you have my family, they can help you. Nope. If you want something, no one, it's not, I always thought that it would be, if I do certain things, it would eventually fall in my lap.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be nice. But one thing go ahead.
It would be, but it doesn't happen that way.
No, absolutely. And one thing I realized during the 3 years is you have to create your own moments. Yep. You have to create that opportunity, because if you want something, and like Edge, the WWE superstar, the ultimate opportunity, the ultimate opportunist. When you see an opportunity, you have to take it and make it your own. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm not pleasing anyone. My wife, it's not about pleasing people. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life till I die. And I mean that. This is what I want to do. I want to be, I'm not asking to be the next Bill Gates. I'm not asking to be the white version of Oprah. I'm not asking that. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying when I die, I would like to be known as saying, remember that guy who accomplished something he did, and yep. He made a milestone? Mm-hmm. That's what I want. I just want something to say, I remember him doing something incredible. Regardless at the time it was stupid or idiotic, but I respect the decision that he never gave up and he pursued on his dreams. That's all I want.
There you go. Well, you're on your way to that because you were divinely created to do something that no one else on this planet can do. Yeah. And you figured out what it is, so keep going. And the doors will open as they need to open and as you continue to grow and build. And you'll get there wherever that is that you're going to get, but enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I'm going to pass it back to you. Was there anything else you wanted to know? Anything you want to ask me or talk about?
I just want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. And don't stop for any purpose or reason, because you are honing in on exactly what you were created to do, to make a difference in people who can identify with you, in people who need to understand people who walk in your shoes. And you are creating a voice that there isn't, and that's what your purpose is. And so as long as you live out your purpose, you're not going to look back and have regret. You're not going to look back and feel like the odds got you or tore you down. And you're right. It's not about what everybody else says or if you have a ton of people helping you. The right people will come along. The right people will get connected. You're utilizing a vehicle that in today's world is the vehicle of everyone. most celebrities are having to tap into YouTube and Hulu and all these other, Vimeo and all these other avenues of social media, Facebook, Twitter. If you don't have all these accounts, then they're considering you not famous enough. It's like you have to have all these social media avenues to even excel, for those of us, myself included, to build ourselves up. And it's not always about training or what kind of knowledge you have or even what your resume says. It's more about how much are you out on social media. You're already there, man. So you've got one step ahead of even me when it comes to the social media avenue. And so you've got the right channels in place for yourself to be extremely successful. So don't discard the avenues that you're having to take or the different doors that open on your journey, because those are purposed to get you to the next one. And don't discard them thinking that they're not good enough, because they're everything right now. So you're already tapping in to the vehicle that's necessary to get yourself where you want to go. Maybe you didn't realize that. I don't know, but I'm here to tell you that you are already tapped into it, because that's what this world is going by. Everybody watches videos on Facebook, on social media, on all these different things. People just surf through those things nonstop. You're already doing that. It's just going to take a few different ones till you get launched to a whole nother thing. And those 400 followers that you had to work hard to get is going to double and then triple, and then you won't even know what to do with all your followers. So don't stop what you're already doing. Just keep plugging away and know that you're on the right path, and you'll get to where you want to go.
No, I appreciate it. Now, wrapping up the interview segment anyway, I just want to say thank you for being a guest of my talk show. And now, how can people follow you? Are you on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn?
Okay.
Long story about LinkedIn. I'm pissed off at them. So, I'm not gonna get into that.
I'm there, but I actually don't utilize that as much as perhaps maybe I should. I am on Facebook, Dynell Masseia. I am also on Instagram as Dynell Works, and I don't have a Twitter account yet. I can't seem to dive into that one. It just seems like this big, huge oasis that I don't want to go to. Maybe one day I will, but I'm not there yet. But I do have Facebook and I do have Instagram.
Well, one thing I would say, Twitter is a lot better than Instagram.
Is it? I know. They kind of had a lull, right? Like it was all about Twitter, and then they kind of went away for a second, and Instagram was the thing, and then now Twitter's back to being the thing, and I'm like, ugh. Like I couldn't vote for The Voice because I don't have a Twitter account. I was like, okay, fine, whatever.
Well, wrapping up, I appreciate you taking the time.
No problem, Keith. It was my pleasure.